ठीक है सर या लाइट बढ़ाऊं?
जय हिंद दोस्तों, मैं हूं मेजर मोहम्मद अली शाह। और अभी मेरे एक खास दोस्त, एक बहुत ही एक ऐसी, मैं क्या हूं, ऐसे मेरे साथी हैं फौज के, जिनको मैं बहुत चाहता हूं दिल से, इनके साथ बहुत कनेक्ट कर पाता हूं। इन्होंने बड़ा, इनको कोई तारुफ की जरूरत नहीं है, आप सब जानते हैं। इसके लिए मैं इतना खास तारुफ नहीं कराऊंगा। मेरे पहले वीडियो में, आपने कल के वीडियो में देखा होगा किस तरीके से इन्होंने सियाचिन ग्लेशियर के बारे में, यूएन के बारे में, असल ऑपरेशन गंगा के बारे में बताया। तो मैंने इनसे दरखास्त करी दोबारा कि भाई समर भाई, प्लीज यार, आपने जिस तरीके से आपने ऑपरेशन गंगा में आपका योगदान था, वी कुड नॉट डू जस्टिस टू इट yesterday despite आफ्टर ऑलमोस्ट बिन बीइंग लाइव फॉर ओवर 2.5 hours, ऑलमोस्ट 2.5 hours, 2.25 घंटे। तो समर भाई, हालांकि ही wasn't well, but he very sweet of him, very gracious of him, he consented just because I'm a brother officer. And we would like to know Major Samar's experience during the Russia-Ukraine war and during the Operation Ganga and during हमने किस तरीके से ह्यूमैनिटेरियन कॉरिडोर वहां पे शुरू किया, और मेजर समर का वहां पे खास क्या योगदान था। समर, जय हिंद एंड थैंक यू वेरी मच ब्रदर फॉर टेकिंग योर टाइम।
सर जय हिंद सर, हाउ यू सर?
वेरी वेल ब्रदर, वेरी वेल, गुड टू सी यू।
सेम हियर सर.
Samar, tell me about the when Operation Ganga. How did you get involved with Operation Ganga and your experience with it?
Sir, post retirement, my first place where I was selected for my job was at Catala Pharmaceuticals Limited. So there in the finance department, we had Mr. Bharat Bhai, whose daughter was in Ukraine. So he was looking very, saddened, perplexed. His morale was down. I mean, I could. इतना तजुर्बा हो जाता है when you lead men in war and peace. You get to read the body language. You get to read the person through and through. So मुझे देख के पता लगा that something is not right. So I just generally I used to go and interact with everyone, or they used to come and interact with me. So eventually he was regular in interacting, but for the past 1 or 2, 3 days he wasn't interacting with anybody. So I went to him. I said, "Oh, Bharat bhai, how are you? Kya chal raha hai? What's happening?" He was from the finance department, very cordial and a jovial person, very helpful. And he said that, Major Samar, my daughter is stuck in uh, Ukraine. And मैं कहा हाँ वो लड़ाई शुरू शुरू हो गई है. So he said कि need to get her back to India. So he said आप तो आर्मी में रहे हो, आप ही कुछ कर लो, हमें तो पता नहीं, whom do we approach, क्योंकि they said we are trying to contact embassy, वहाँ बिजी आ रहा है और लोग बहुत बिजी चल रहे हैं. So I told him they are working hard to get them out, probably they're jotting down a plan. So that is the time when I told him, okay, get me through to the parents of to other parents whose students are there. He said, I'll have you added. So he got me added to a WhatsApp group. जिसमें approximately 170-180 parents थे. Then in that I left a message that get me added to their children's hostel groups. So उन्होंने फिर WhatsApp और Telegram पे फिर मुझे ऐड करवाया. So खेरसौन हो गया, खारकीव हो गया, सुमी हो गया, कीव हो गया. तो इन सब लोकेशंस में जो जो मेडिकल हॉस्टल्स थे उनकी मुझे इन्होंने ग्रुप्स में ऐड कर दिया सर. Then few days before this incident, I had come on India Today. So Shivarur had interviewed me and had told me that what advice would you give to the children in the war torn country right now. War has just started, so what precautions are to be taken. So वो clipping मैंने आपको भी भेजा था sir. So in that I gave the guidelines. So actually students had already seen that, but they were not able to trace me. So through this, the students started messaging me that sir, our location is this. Electricity has been cut off. We have limited share of water. Food we have stocked, which will not last for more than 15 or 20 odd days. ठीक है सर. Majority of the students have moved on to the basement. तो ये overall कहानी वगैरह, I got to know the picture. Then I called up my UN friends from Ukraine, of which one or two had fled the country with their families due to some obvious reasons that their lives were under threat, and few remained back. So they got me in touch with the Indian embassy in Kiev. They gave me their address and direct contact. I got in touch with the Kiev embassy, Indian embassy in Kiev, and then we started coordination. So in that, sir, my UN colleagues of Ukraine, the pilots and all, they gave me phone numbers of transporters and whatever they could get hold of, taxi drivers and everyone who could actually ship the students. So eventually, sir, ye hua. Then one day, all of a sudden, Khalsa Aid got my number from one of the students who I had helped be extracted to Poland. So Poland se Khalsa Aid gave me a call. They said, "Ki sir, how can we help?" So I said that all the joining countries, including Romania, Slovakia, Slovenia, Hungary, Poland, Hungary, all these at their checkpoints, I said, you pitch up your langars. So they started with the langars there. And I said, have a medical emergency aid team and vehicles with you. And eventually, sir, they set it up within a matter of 48 hours. They had set these up. And eventually, sir, जितने भी students आ रहे थे who had medical issues and ailments and problems, who were dehydrated, खाना नहीं मिल रहा था, weakness थी, so they were being treated over there by Khalsa Aid, and they were transporting them to the hospitals there, local hospitals and nursing homes. So this coordination fell in place with time. Secondly, sir, there was a time when the girls of a particular hostel in Sumi protested and said that the government is not doing enough to get them out as soon as possible. So they're marching towards the Russian border. So that is the time when I actually interacted with them and I told them that don't be foolish, don't do it, because the most hot area would be the international border between both the countries. And any movement of individuals and group like this would be seen as a threat on both the sides. And you never know, some Russian element might open fire on you and say Ukrainians did it. Could be the Ukrainians do it onto you in a false flag operation and say, see what the Russians have done. So Russians would have done it in the context that Ukrainian forces or some troops are coming towards them in that point of view. So I told them not to do this act. It is very foolish. It is immature. It might buy casualties. I said it is better, patience always pays. So I said, wait it out, irrespective of the odds. And what was irking the girls in that hostel was the constant shelling around their area, all night and day. And those vibrations and those windows shaking, no electricity, and very scarce water. And one blunder that the Ukrainian government did was it armed its local population against the Russians. So more than those local population preparing shoulder to shoulder with their army to face the Russian army, they started clearing their own differences. So there was a lot of looting. There was a lot of robberies taking place in abandoned houses. And eventually, at night, few of the notorious elements who were drunk and were armed, these civilians, they came to the reception of one of the hostels and threatened that if Mr. Modi does not, if Prime Minister Modi does not vote for Ukraine and does not condemn the Russian attack, then we are coming to massacre you in this hostel. We will kill you all. So these were the kind of inputs which were coming in, sir. I told them to barricade the main entrances after that. and they locked it with these iron chains with locks, and they put up their Indian flags on the rooftops as told by me. And then I also contacted the one of the deputy ministers of Chechnya, and first I called them. They heard my query. Then they said they will call me back. They established my authenticity. They called me back after 5 to 10 minutes. And then there was a conversation of 6 minutes which I had with them. And I requested that none of these hostel facilities should be invaded or bombed by the Russian forces or by the Chechen fighters who are coming in from Luhansk, Donetsk area. And this was from the Luhansk area, sir, near the Luhansk. So he assured me. Firstly, he said that he told me that, Major, there have been shelling going on, but none of the hostels or these educational institutes have been targeted. But I said their children are in panic, and the Ukrainians are again threatening them that if Prime Minister Modi doesn't condemn the war or doesn't vote in favor of Ukraine, then they might massacre the children and all. So he said, see, we have the addresses of all the hostels. And he told me that the doctors serving in the Russian armed forces, including the Chechen forces, they have all studied, majority of them have studied from these medical institutes and hostels. So he said, be rest assured, we are not going to touch them. It is against human rights because they are children. And be it Ukrainian children or children of any nationality, Russians will not touch them because we ourselves have, I mean, this was a bit vague statement when he said that Russia, has lost its children in Beslan, in the siege of Beslan. So that was very intriguing aspect that it was the Chechen fighters who actually massacred the kids. And so he said that no, we are one country now. We are with the Russians, and though we have the autonomy, but we are part of Russia, and we will go by the rules of engagement set by the Russian Federation, and we will not even go near these areas until and unless there is military presence in these areas, and they are using these hostels as human shields, which later on it happened to be like that. So eventually, sir, ये हुआ. There were inputs coming in that railway station पे there were discrimination against the Indian students. जिस बोगी में 100 लोगों की सीटिंग कैपेसिटी है उसमें ये सिर्फ 10 से 15 इंडियन बच्चे बैठा रहे थे. Rest all were Ukrainians. So there was a lot of panic in the railway station, underground railway station and metro networks, and there was sporadic firing happening in the city, and lot of warning shots were fired in the railway station against the students and the crowd. And it was evident that children, Indians, were being targeted because we were majority in numbers. And eventually, this was the situation in Kherson. Slowly and steadily, the buses started coming into Kherson, sir. Kherson mein, one debacle that happened was the buses arrived with the help of the Indian embassy. Students were taken in, and then the ambassador of Bangladesh, Sultana Hussain ma'am, she called me up. We coordinated, and she said that, Major Toor, we need to extricate Bangladeshi students as well. So I sent you the nominal roll, so the Excel sheet. Usme wo tha. And then she said that there are few Pakistani students also who would wish to be extradited from this place. So that is where I actually held my ground and said, ma'am, this is not my prerogative. I cannot take a call on this aspect. However, I will get you through to the Indian embassy in Kiev, and thereon you can coordinate. And I said, moreover, why don't you coordinate with the foreign minister, the Indian foreign minister in Poland and Hungary, and coordinate with them, and then we can get the approvals. So eventually that took place. It took a couple of hours to do that, sir. And then what they did was they put the Pakistani students' name in the nominal roll of the Bangladeshi students, so as to avoid any ruckus or any issue at that particular moment amongst the students and everything. But however, sir, lives were at stake. None of students knew who's from which nationality. But at that particular moment of time, everybody was worried that it is uh, fight for survival. That time nationalities were irrelevant. It was ki zindagi bachani hai at all costs. So that was the prime motive, sir. Service to humanity. That was our main motive. And there were Chinese students who refused any help. There were Turkish students from Turkey who refused all the help from Indian embassy. They said, we will not give any details. We don't want to be in touch with you. We don't want to be in contact with you. And however, the funny part is that the Pakistani students had no other hope than the Indian embassy people that कुछ ना कुछ तरीके से तो ये लोग हमें निकाल के ले जाएंगे. And eventually it did happen. It did take place. And I really felt sad for few countries, like African countries, who actually had no infrastructure means or any solution to getting these their own students out from Ukraine. So eventually, sir, हमने फिर इन students को निकलवाया वहां से. They reached the borders, and it was, I mean, sir, during this there were lot many things. There were few students in civil localities. They contacted me. They gave me their coordinates of their buildings. Then again, I spoke to the Chechen authorities. I said, they are ye coordinates hain. You are not supposed to be bombing them. They said, we will not touch them. Tell them to put the Indian flags on top of the roof. And I said, you don't have the Indian flags. Then they said, tell them to burn wood in a plus formation on top of the roof. So they said, our satellite imagery will catch hold through thermal imaging also. So we will get to know that that building is Indians are there. So these were the codes and signs that we used for extracting these students from the civil localities quietly out from there. And we were in close coordination on the phone, on Telegram, and on WhatsApp, sir. So it was very well coordinated. It was quick. It was to the point. And coming back to that incident where the buses landed in Kherson, students boarded the buses. They went approximately 2 to 3 kilometers outside on the outskirts of the city. And the saddest part that can ever be imagined is that Ukrainian soldiers were standing there on the road, and there was some firing that took place, and bullets came and hit in and around the bus and in the front part of the bus, where nobody would have got injured. And the Ukrainian soldiers did not fire back. They just ran to the driver and said, the Russian forces are coming from that side and firing. You all have to go back to the city. And it was the Ukrainian driver, and he said, I can't see anybody. Where are the forces? They said, we are telling you, just head back. Eventually, sir, the full convoy had to go back immediately within 45 minutes of them covering the distance and then coming back, unloading the students back to their respective hostels with their luggage. And to the dismay and disbelief, the Ukrainian authorities then took these buses at a public assembly point for the Ukrainian civilians, and they began evacuating Ukrainian civilians with these buses, which the Indian embassy had actually arranged for getting the students out. So indirectly, the Indian government helped the Ukrainian civilians to be extracted from Kharkiv and from Kherson and from Sumy in this manner indirectly. It happened at all locations. यही हुआ था. Buses पहुंच जाती थी, ये अलग से रखवा लेते थे, and first 10-12 hours they used these buses for extraction of their civilians. Then last priority was given to our students. So indirectly, it was like they were using Indian students and prolonging that negotiation and ceasefire period with the Russians, that abhi Indian students are being extracted, and for the initial 1 or 2 days, they were just, their armies were moving in, they were setting up their positions, and they were using basically Indian children as human shields. This was very evident. And I'm saying it right now on camera, and I have students to back this up, and I have full faith in them, that because this is the input that I was getting from there, live input as we were talking, that this is the development which is taking place. So things were very ugly, sir. And the mayor of Kharkiv was little non-cooperative, and the first priority was definitely was given to all the Ukrainians, and Indian students were left out. So indirectly, we can say that yes, the delay in the extraction of Indian students was resulting in indirectly using Indian students as human shield, so that the Russians do not come forward and attack these cities. So it was unethical on their part. It was wrong, and the as external affairs minister says that world is not a fool anymore. Everybody can see and notice and judge what is right and what is wrong in the most meaningful and correct manner, which involves a lot of logic as well and foresightedness. So as a result, we extracted these students, and there was one particular family I would like to bring out, sir, that in the northern state of Chernihiv, there was Mr. Sanjay Majnani. Now, the sad part I want to tell is, sir, that on Twitter, somebody had tweeted his name, address, phone number, and tagged all the government agencies. But everyone had their hands full. And one thing I would like to, sir, thank the present government is that they welcome any volunteer with open hands, open arms, and they are very grateful with gratitude with folded hands for those who were good volunteers. So as a result, when my name came up, that I'm being quite effective in extraction of these students with the help of a team from Romania. There was a singer and a social activist called Mina Cristiana. With her help from Romania, we set up a team for extraction of students all throughout Romania, Slovakia, Slovenia, sir. These three countries at the borders. So, the coordination was good, and the government was very appreciative. They was very welcoming. I got a call from the Information and Broadcasting Ministry. They said, sir, your mobile bills will be taken care of. You are authorized to make any international call. We will not bill you. You can go ahead and carry on with the rescue of the students. Because one of the students whom I had helped rescue, their parents were working in Information and Broadcasting Ministry. So they had informed the ministry that we need to help this officer to be more effective. So eventually, sir, my network of communication expanded. There was one Mr. Girish Pant, a president awardee for settled in Dubai. He had a great contribution during Corona for sending the mortal remains of Indians who had passed away due to Corona to India. So he had a great contribution again for extracting students along with my team. So it was all a teamwork, sir. I'm just a part of it, but the faith and trust everybody had in me, being a specialist officer, and having good combat experience. They had all the faith in me. So whatever I spoke, they blindly followed it and listened to me. And with the grace of God and prayers, none of the students had any fatalities during the extraction. And it was just by God's grace, good coordination, and good mindset of everyone, sir. So all my gratitude and thanks to the present government and their attitude towards working as a team. And they rightly said, "Sabka saath, sabka vikas." So this was "Sabka saath" or "Sabka bachao." We were all together, and we were able to pull all these students out at a very short time. And so, sir, this Sanjay Majrani's incident, his brother resides in Romania. He contacted me and he sent me this tweet ka screenshot. He said, "Major
Right.
Toor, can you help? Can you help me out?" I said, "I'll do it." But I said, "It's been 48 hours. The tweet is available and visible to the world. I'm sure he would be right now in Poland or Hungary." He said, "Sir, the ugly truth is सब एक दूसरे को ये मैसेज फॉरवर्ड कर रहे हैं, but nobody is making an effort to actually dial those numbers and contact him." And to my astonishment and to my bewilderment, I was bewildered when I actually gave him a call, and he broke down, Sanjay Majdani, and he said, "You are the first Indian to call me within 48 hours since the tweet." And that is what I want to tell the youth. Any message which comes as a forward that we need blood donation, make an effort to at least make a call. But just forwarding the message does contribute, but that is to a very little extent. But making the call is what makes the real difference. And me making that call made all the difference. I asked him, he asked me, I asked him, "What is your extraction plan?" He said, "I have a Ukrainian wife. I have a 6-year-old daughter, and my wife is already pregnant. She's 7 months pregnant, and I am moving tonight." I mean, just see the luck of God, sir, that had they moved at night, anything moving at night would be a threat to the Ukrainian forces and to the Russian forces, and they would have been massacred. And by luck, I told them that there will be no move at night. I said, "You please stay home." Then he asked me, "What valuable should I take?" I said, "Please take valuables which will be of some value if sold in a foreign country." I said, "Where do you
Yeah.
want to go?" He said, "I want to go to Hungary." So I said, "Then kindly take gold, kindly take silver, kindly take your diamonds, kindly take your property papers with you, and anything which has monetary value, expensive watches and everything." I said, "Take all that stuff, but avoid taking unnecessary clothing and luggage, which is of no cognizance." I said, "Take a bag, fill it with bottles of water, fill it with rations, which you can, stop and consume for a while. Take toilet paper along with you. I mean, take blankets which are very thin for survival, which you can just manage to survive." I said, "No need to carry excessive luggage for no point. Why do you need to waste your calories and energy? Because war is something so unpredictable. You might get stranded. You need food and water to survive."
Just one thing, someone reading some comments. There's one guy in home writes, I'm a regular listener of Major Samar, sir. Major Samar से कैसे मिल सकते हैं? Can you please share me his email ID? He is on Instagram. आप message करो if you are lucky. Though he gets thousands of messages every day, इतना मैं pre-warn कर दूं. If you are
Yes.
lucky, if your message is different, so you will be lucky enough that Major Samar will get back to you. And then in home rights, your podcast with Major Vivek Jacob was too good. I feel a direct connection with. I don't know. मैं अपने फोन यूज कर रहा हूँ तो फोन से इस पे कैसे कर सकते हैं? I don't know how to put it on the screen. So anyhow, I feel a direct connection with Jacob sir and Colonel Bharwan sir. Please do a podcast with Colonel Bharwan sir. मतलब यार तुम जो भी है ये बंदा जो कमेंट कर रहा है ये ऐसी हवा में लिख रहा है ये इसको मालूम नहीं है that I have already seriously
Sir, देखो, I'll tell you one thing very frankly. I mean, nothing against the officers. They're very good, state of the art people. But end of the day, sir, वही है ना कि I mean, he is running the SSB institutes. So eventually, those youth who have a motive to actually be something in life, he is a channel or a gateway, Colonel Bharwan, to get them into, give them a direction in life. As far as Vivek Jacob sir is concerned, I have not interacted with him, but I've seen his videos, and I wouldn't like to comment much. But I think all I can say is choose your veterans wisely and maturely. That is all that
नहीं,
I
ये
can
जो
say.
बंदा है जो हवा में लिख रहा है, ये चक्कर ये है कि आई हैव ऑलरेडी इंटरव्यूड मेजर कर्नल भरवान एंड मेजर जेकब. ठीक है,
So
कर्नल भरवान को
he's
मैं
not seen your interview. He is aloof.
तो हाँ, तो दिस गाय इज अलूफ, मतलब ही हैजंट गॉन टू द यूट्यूब चैनल. मेरे को ना मैसेज आते हैं, तुम्हें भी आते होंगे बेसबर, दैट सर हाउ डू यू क्रैक एसएसबी. यार मैं फॉर्मर चीफ से बात कर रहा हूँ, ठीक है. आई एम
And these
इंटरव्यूइंग
questions
जनरल
are coming
नरवाने
in.
ओवर हियर. आई एम इंटरव्यूइंग जनरल नरवाने. यहाँ पे somebody comes and writes, sir please give tips on cracking SSB. मैं मराएगा ये बंदा यार, जो भी है कमाल का बंदा है यार. तो
Out of
आप लोगों के
context.
लिए सलाह है जो कमेंट कर रहे हैं ना दोस्तों, अभी रियली लव एंड अप्रिशिएट योर कमेंट्स. वी वुड वांट
Yes.
कमेंट कॉन्स्टेंटली कमिंग इन, मगर इट्स लाइक यूज योर कॉमन सेंस, थोड़ा देख लो, सुन लो, फिर कमेंट करो, है. डोंट जस्ट लेट लूज लाइक दैट. वी लव एवरी कमेंट दो एंड वी अप्रिशिएट देम. इट्स अ ब्रदरली एडवाइस. So you had asked for an interview with Colonel Bharwan. I have interviewed him. It's already there and it did very
सर वो
well.
लिंक शेयर कर देंगे सर, आप लिंक शेयर कर
नहीं,
देंगे
हम क्यों करें शेयर, हम क्यों करें शेयर. This guy,
हाँ ये
whoever, हम क्यों करें. If this guy is genuinely interested, he should go through it ना. If this guy
अगर
अगर
घोड़े को
genuinely
प्यास
interested,
लगी है तो घोड़ा अपने आप ही पानी पीने जाएगा.
बिल्कुल. अगर घोड़े को प्यास लगी, you said it, you said it. अगर घोड़े को प्यास लगी है तो घोड़ा खुद को, don't just write for the sake of it guys. आप देखो फिर आप कमेंट करो. ओके सर, मैं समझ, so sorry to have interrupted. Go ahead please.
So sir, then Sanjay Majnani, he kind of broke down. He was like very astonished. He was surprised. The kind of instructions I was giving him, the kind of equipment like for medicines, water, rations to be carried, only one bag to be carried for clothing. It's a war scenario. You will not get the luxury of changing clothes and everything off and on. I said take effective and good clothes as per the weather. And baki seasons, it was winter season, so I said take your warm clothes, but take those which are effectively warm, not for the heck of it ki garam hai. I said take a lot of undergarments, briefs, socks, because they are to be required to be changed almost after every 2 days or 3 days during war, or could be even it might prolong. So I said you should have these briefs more, and baki warm clothes I said you can carry on wearing them for weeks or 10 days also, it doesn't matter because it's a war. So, and you'll not get time to wash anything, so you can just change the clothes, or you can wear it one side and do it upside down and wear it for another 3-4 days and then change the cloth, shirt or pant, like that. So that is what I told them, and he followed the instructions. So while he was going from Chernihiv to a place called Cherkasy was a transit point from where they had to change their vehicles and proceed to Lviv, which later on proceeded to the border of Poland and Hungary. ठीक है सर, हंगरी बॉर्डर पे जाता था ये. So eventually while they were coming sir, एक incident हुआ where the Ukrainians directly opened fire at the first vehicle, and there were casualties. I mean, there were no survivors. There were 3 people in the first vehicle. All 3 passed away. And this vehicle just swayed and went down the road and आगे जाकर रुक गया. The whole convoy stopped. It was a mobile checkpoint, so they came in the vehicle, and they said go to that particular armored vehicle which is there. So they were so indiscriminately firing at people and vehicles who were coming from Chernihiv. So this is the northernmost state from where the frontal attack of the Russian forces came. This is the state जहाँ पे Chernobyl is there, जहाँ पे Chernobyl disaster हुआ था. It happened in Chernihiv state. So वहां से sir, when they were coming, so this happened. Now his wife was sitting in the front, he was sitting at the back with his daughter and everything. Eventually they all stopped and they shouted in Ukrainian language to everybody to get down. So they all went down. They lied down onto the ground. However, the lady being pregnant got up out of the vehicle, raising her hand and shouted in Ukrainian language that she's pregnant and she has an Indian husband and a 6-year-old daughter. So she was bold enough to actually, just because she was pregnant, and obviously, ladies are more protective and aggressive during, when it comes to their siblings and protection of them. And eventually, The soldiers asked her to keep standing and told everybody you remain lying down. Then they checked everyone, frisked everybody. And Sanjay told me at that particular point of time the mobile was on. WhatsApp पे call उसने कर दिया था मुझे. I could hear the shouts and everything happening, but I couldn't understand anything. And उसकी थोड़ी देर बाद phone बंद हो गया था. And I made it a point not to call back because that would attract attention of the Ukrainian soldiers. They might confiscate the phone or break it or say कि तुम जासूसी कर रहे हो, you are passing information to the Indians who might be giving it to Russians and all. So I didn't call back. I just texted that once out of the situation, call back. I just messaged. I didn't make it a point to call back immediately. And later on, after 2 hours, he called me back. And these were the times, sir, जब मैं रात को उठा रहता था. I never used to sleep between night 10 o'clock to early morning 5 o'clock. I used to get no sleep. And at 8 o'clock, I had to reach office also for work. And even during office hours, I was on the job. I was balancing it out. And I was under tremendous pressure, sir, from all sides. बहुत मुझे दिक्कत रहती थी. My health took a toll because when you are not getting sleep, your body parameters tend to go haywire, sir. Your sleeping clock cycle goes for a 6. But eventually, I got a habit to be awake at night, and at night, I used to get so much of satisfaction with the selfless sacrifice of, keeping myself in that uncomfortable zone just to get these children to safety. That was the soothing factor which I was earning out of it. I was feeling contented. And as a result, sir, he called me. He said he saw a pile of 40 to 50 bodies near that particular checkpoint and all their vehicles dumped on the roadside. And the soldiers were using these vehicles in terms of mobile checkpoints. And he told me that they were asking you other Ukrainians, whether they are actual Ukrainians or Russians. And those who were suspected to be Russians, they were, just declaring them as traitors and spies and everything and shooting them on the roadside and piling up their bodies. So these were the gorish scenes that he told me about. There were checkpoints where mines were laid out in the open in a synchronized manner. So the vehicles had to stop. The soldiers came, questioned them, checked the papers. Then they had to make their vehicle in a diagonal manner, cross over the mines, and then proceed ahead. And at particular places, they saw mines openly thrown on the road, just thrown onto the roads, so that at night somebody is trying to move with lights off would just go onto the mine. So they saw these, damaged vehicles and mangled bodies onto the highway road and all. So it was actual scenario, war scenario. What happens? And very dreadful scenes he described. And eventually, sir, he reached there and he changed the taxi. He proceeded to Poland, where I had already told Khalsa Aid that this couple is coming. You be at the immigration, and Khalsa Aid volunteers were there to receive them with the wheelchair, and they took the lady on the wheelchair into the ambulance and took her directly to the hospital. And she was at the end of the 7th month. The 8th month was had started, I guess. She was in the 8th month of her pregnancy, and I mean, things were well coordinated, sir. Luck was there, and few reality bites that I want to tell is few students whom I spoke to said, "Sir, we cannot come back to India." I said, "Why?" They said, "Sir, our parents have taken loans. They are not very rich or not financially well off. All that money will go waste if you go back to India." And they themselves told me that their parents have told them that, "Beta, don't come here. Go to adjoining Hungary, Poland, Romania, Slovakia, pick up a job, take a refugee status there, but don't come back to India because we do not have any other means to pay back the money." Because they were the ones who were doing these part-time jobs in Ukraine and sending money back for payment of their loans. So this I really this it hit me, sir. It hit me real hard that majburi itni thi कि बेचारे पेरेंट्स ने भी बोल दिया था कि टेलिंग their own child, यार don't come back, now that you are in safety, you go to a adjoining country and try to get a job there, and once things settle down, you go and join back the college. I mean, things were on the edge, sir. I mean, it was bad. It was really bad. And in Sumi, one of the blunders that took place was I called up a hostel 2 days prior to the blockade of Sumi. And I spoke to this girl. I'll not name her. She later on did apologize to me. I was questioned, who are you? Are you a government representative? What authority do you have to give us directions as to what to do? Who are you? And if you are so and so, prove yourself. I mean, what do I do to prove they were right? And eventually that lady blocked me. And before blocking me, she said, our parents have told not to listen to any person but the contractor. And then I had spoken to the contractor. Contractor was helpless because I lost my cool on the contractor that, are you sleeping? It's been so many days. You've not arranged any vehicle. None of the students have left the hostel. I said, you
Yeah, I'm
think it is
aware of
a...
the story. I'm aware of the story, Yawali. You did a commendable
Hi,
job there.
I literally had to admonish him that you were sleeping. What have you done to get them out? He said, sir, I made friends with the local police commissioner, with the mayor. I said, where are your dear friends? He said, sir, none of them are answering the call. They are nowhere to be found. I said, because they have already arranged their exfiltration. They have already moved out from Sumi. And you are left to fend for yourself. And he actually broke down. He was from South. I have his number and phone. And I mean, sir, बहुत सारी चीजें हुई. I lost my cool on him. I said, यार, it is not right. You actually
You
put
lost
children
your,
in danger by telling them that you will only
you
listen
lost
to
your,
me. So say again, I lost my cool.
you,
I lost my cool on the contractor. And I told him that because of you and your selfish attitude, they are not listening to anybody now, including, sir, they blocked the Indian embassy phone numbers from Kiev, who were actually helping them out to coordinate and get extracted. उनके numbers block कर दिए. I mean, Indian embassy in Kiev called me up. कहते मेरे तो ये कैसे बच्चे हैं, इन्होंने तो हमें block कर दिया है, phone attend ही नहीं कर रहे. Then I told them that, sir, their parents, many of their parents have said not to come back to India and to flee to other adjoining countries. क्योंकि लोन इतना कर्जा लिया हुआ है सर पे, जो 4th ईयर 5th ईयर स्टूडेंट है, उसके सर पे इतना कर्जा चढ़ा हुआ है, he has to actually get a degree and start with the practice so that he can start earning money and start paying back the loans. I said, sir, it is a big problem taking place. I mean, the ugly face of war was this. And there was fraud taking place. And there is an immigration firm called Bob Traits in Delhi. I'm naming them because on record, students complained to me about them, that they were the private contractors who arranged buses for transport for extraction, and they were taking $500 per child. I mean, that is the level of corruption कि इन्होंने तो अपने भी नहीं छोड़े, खुद की कंट्री वालों के बच्चे भी नहीं छोड़े इन्होंने तो ड्यूरिंग वॉर टाइम. They took undue advantage of them also. And I had kept on actually telling, but I really do not know whom to approach that, there should be investigation. There should be investigation. Their audits should be checked. They must have these shell companies outside or these individuals जिनके accounts में पैसा transfer किया होएगा, which later on would have come to their accounts. N number of possibilities can be there. कई बच्चे they were crying while talking to me, sir, we are from a humble family, पैसे नहीं है, मेरे पास सिर्फ $60 हैं, ये $500 मांग रहे हैं. Then I told them, मुझे सबसे 5th year students या 4th year students से बात करवाओ. So they made me talk to the 4th year students, not 5th year, so 4th year students से बात करवाई, the seniors. And I said, you will ensure to take 3 juniors of 1st year and 2nd year with you. and then you can take one fourth year student and one third year student अलग से. But first year or second year के students को आप लेके जाओगे, especially those who do not have money on them. And sir, एक बस में seating capacity is 30. They were making approximately 50 students get stuffed into one bus. और एक बस का टोटल पैसे की कमाई 15 लाख रुपए कमा रहे थे by taking $500 per head. I mean, that was the shameful fact that I really felt bad. And whereas Indian embassy was providing buses free of cost, तो जिन contractors ने चटकी मारी, who played smart, who were getting the students out before the Indian embassy buses arrived, they were charging $500. I felt sad. That is where I felt these people are not patriots or nationalists. They do not deserve to be called Indians. क्योंकि ये अपने ही अपनों को ही लूट रहे थे. उनको भी नहीं बख्शा इन्होंने.
They are opportunists.
Opportunists, sir, this is wrong. Even today I read an article which said airlines have increased the prices in Odisha after the rail accident. This is a Sikh attitude. ये सर ये बीमारी है. This is not a quality of being a patriot or a nationalist when the country is undergoing a tragedy. This is not correct. It is unacceptable. It is to the lowest of lows of human standards, of mentality and thought, that जब किसी पे बुरी बीत रही है तब you're taking advantage. That is the time when you're showing your greed. And sir, I really felt bad, and this is really uncalled for, and this attitude should actually change in the Indian mentality. कोई भी calamity आती है, I mean, I've seen Khalsa Aid I've been associated with. They are the first ones to respond and distribute food and basic amenities and water. And that is the attitude and values we should actually possess by helping out everyone. By increasing the fare, जो बेचारा मजबूरी में जो ट्रेन में जा रहा था वो कहता है चलो एयरप्लेन से चले जाएं, so that mentally he satisfied कि चलो I am safe by going by air if not by train, or trains are cancelled. I mean, it is wrong. आप गलत फायदा उठा रहे हो लोगों की मजबूरी का. ये पाप है. It will come back to them. And it is a request to the government, please stop issuing advisories. Start issuing actions and penalties. Issue penalties and charge sheets on these airlines who are doing these malpractices. I am so shocked that these big CEOs of these airlines and all, they talk about charity, contribution to mankind, provision of employment, upliftment of living standards. Is this what it is? Is this what they are giving in return? Whatever charity that they've done, it goes all down the drain by doing these acts. And these are
Samar,
acts of
we
insincerity.
are very proud of you. You are the true nation's hero in true sense. चाहे सियाचिन ग्लेशियर की बात हो, चाहे UN की बात हो, चाहे fighting insurgency की बात हो, चाहे putting your life at stake and going beyond the call of duty की बात हो, चाहे Russia Ukraine from behind the scenes, not from the forefront, but not serving in the army anymore, not wearing the uniform anymore. You have always stepped forward to have served the nation, and that is the only reason why renowned filmmakers are wanting to make a biopic on you, and that is what differentiates you, and that is what makes you a legend. So a lot of youngsters who send Instagram random messages to someone that explain to us how are you a legend. Someone ये मैं समझ नहीं आता ये लोग comment जो करते हैं.
ये एक सवाल था which I was never able to interpret or form an answer to it. I actually had no answer to it. I said, यार मैं क्या बताऊं? And sir, I'll tell you, being a part of the infantry, seen so much of combat, seen so much of violence, gore, and graphic scenes in life. A lot of violence, abuse, uh, especially UN. I mean, it was bad, sir. And I mean, it became an addiction to go unsung. हम सब भी अच्छा काम करते थे ना सर. We knew who's done what, but none of us bothered to even say कि मैंने किया है. It was always हमने ये किया है. And that brotherhood, that instead of I ना sir, that word we, हम सब, हम मिलके करेंगे. I mean that is, it is, I think after the word Om, I think it is the word hum. We, us, together, unity, as one unit, as one platoon section together. And the and the most beauty of it is, no matter the best achievements of whoever individual, they were recognized, but not that particular individual never came up and said मैंने ये किया. Even till date, I've
Right.
never said मैंने ये किया है. I've just said my Paltan 8 Rajputana rifles, their troops, with a composition of Rajput, Muslims, and Jat, as one particular amalgamation of one single team, one unit, went ahead, and they were fighting martial comms. They're not scared. We went into battle, sir. It was 400 against 6,000. And it was worse than that. If you could imagine a scenario like Black Hawk Down or 13 hours, it was similar to that, where we had RPGs fired at us, mortar shelling going on. Okay, sir, unexploded mortar shells and RPG shells in the camp. You had anti-aircraft guns firing at us. The tanks, fortunately, were firing just adjacent to the camp, because had they fired in the camp, then we had sufficient amount of BMPs. They knew they would have been taken out. However, that one particular tank was taken out within 24 hours after it began firing in the day. At night, the Ghatak infiltrated into the city, homed onto the tank. We destroyed it by silently taking out the crew and then putting in timed explosives into the tank and then quietly moving out from there. There were no weapons fired in this. There was only use of dagger and iron wires, and different various techniques of putting the rebels to sleep permanently. And we did it with stealth and surprise, and we moved out, because that particular T-55 tank was a major threat to us night and day. And the day when we saw it and I reported that tank firing openly into the public areas in the Malakal city, we knew that a major cause of massacre is this tank. It was a genocide which was unfolding because of that particular machinery. And it was a tank captured by the rebels. The tank belonged to the SPLA, Sudanese People Liberation Army. They were overrun, and the rebels captured this tank, and then they were actually firing at the public, because the public did not know that it is the rebels who are operating this tank, and there were bodies being blown to bits. There is a
Right.
clipping of the same tank. This space, sir, half a kilometer dur, there's a group of 6-7 civilians. The tank is trying to fire at them, and उनको मिस होके पीछे बैकग्राउंड में 1 किलोमीटर दूर जाके वो बॉम्ब पड़ता है. And then these civilians
Right.
are running left, right, and center, and getting dispersed so that they cannot target them in a group. It was like
Right.
that
Right.
bad.
Right.
So I mean,
और
after
मेरे समझ
so much debacles, here I am, sir, and I prefer being not coming into the limelight, not being popular. That is my comfort zone. But yes, if this story is appreciated, the youth must know what the present Indian Army stands for, what is its meaning of a meaningful existence, uska kya hai, kyun hai, kis liye hai, what are the traits and the qualities we imbibe, and why is it that the African nations have so much trust and faith in us, including United Nations, that we are the highest troop contributing country in the world. हमारे सबसे ज्यादा troops are all over the world. for peace enforcement and peacekeeping, for both. And I get these comments on Instagram and all. Why should our soldiers go and lay down our lives on a foreign land for no reason? Their lives are being wasted. They are not martyrs. They are being killed and massacred there. And I told them, Mecca, then we do not have the right to proclaim ourselves to be a future power, world power, if we do not have the will to sacrifice and to make a place a better world to stay and live in. The Americans,
Absolutely. Let's make the
the
world a better
Americans
place to live in,
have it
Samar.
all over the
And
world.
very well said by you. Very well said by you. You are an inspiration, and we are so proud of you and all the great work that you have done. You take care, brother, and we really wish you well. And all the youngsters, follow Samar's page. More, you all do. Go ahead. He said someone is constantly asking for your email address. सौरभ गुप्ता is asking for your email address. तो वही मैं बोला पहले कि भाई ये इंस्टाग्राम में है, आप इंस्टाग्राम में फॉलो करिए, मगर नहीं फॉलो नहीं करना भैया, शॉर्टकट तरीका मारना है मैं फॉलो करो, मैसेज करो, वहां पे पूछो, and then he will give his email ID there and then you can be in touch. ठीक है,
मेहनत का फल मीठा होता है, so they should do मेहनत
थोड़ी स्ट्रगल कर लो भैया, थोड़ी स्ट्रगल कर लो. हम भी भाई स्ट्रगल करके थोड़ा बहुत, ज्यादा कुछ किया नहीं जिंदगी में मैंने, कम से कम समर ने तो बहुत किया है, पर थोड़ा स्ट्रगल करके आए हैं भैया, घुटनों के बल चल के आए हैं. अकेडमी में जो
we all have had our battles to fight, sir. It's not that किसी ने कम लड़ा है, किसी ने ज्यादा लड़ा है. We all are fighting for survival. We all have our roles to play, sir. So I'm sure we all, wherever at particular positions in life, we are at par. We are battling it out, and we are living up to God. We are living up to the expectations. We are living up to humanity by being a good citizen and a human being. So I am sure we are equal wherever we are, sir, irrespective of the number of deeds we have done. What matters most is a good human being with good deeds and a balanced
Absolutely. So be
mindset
a
and a
good human
mature
being
outlook.
first. Rest all will follow. Samar, all the
True,
best to
sir.
you, and we really wish you well. Take care. My regards to your family. Jai Hind, brother.
Jai Hind, sir.
End this broadcast.